I remember seeing Smoky Dawson on TV when I was a child and just being so excited seeing him and Flash in the Waratah Parade in Sydney. And I actually still have a photograph that I took when I was about 6 years old, Smoky on Flash at that parade. It was so exciting for a little boy. I was fortunate enough to get to work with Smoky in the late 80s, and we became friends. We hit it off straight away, and Smoky loved to tell a story, and I just really enjoyed listening to his stories, and I became friends with him and with Dot, and that was a friendship that lasted pretty much the rest of their lives, the next 20 odd years. So I consider myself very lucky to have been able to know these magnificent Australians. One of my fondest memories would really just be visiting Smoky and Dot in their Sydney home, and you'd sit there often for hours at a time, and Dotty would dutifully carry out cups of tea, or if it was summer, cordial in little glasses, and he would just tell us stories. He'd regale you with anecdotes of way back when, and you really did get the feeling that you were in the presence of greatness. You really were having an audience with this wonderful Australian entertainer, and I consider myself extremely lucky to have had that experience. I used to find it peculiar at the start that Herb would always refer to Smoky Dawson in the third person. Herbert Dawson was just a working Australian entertainer. He just had a job and he paid taxes and he mowed the lawns and cleaned the car in the driveway just like every other suburban Australian man. And I guess people don't realise that. Like all entertainers, it was his job, and his job was being Smoky Dawson. And so on those days when he'd sit and he'd tell stories, he'd be like, "Oh, Smoky had them, in raptures that day, didn't he?" And it was always in the third person. And I guess once I got used to that, I realised that Smoky really is just this figure that he's created, that the world's in love with. But I guess meeting him and getting to know Herb and Dot, you fell in love with them as people. They were together for 75 years, and they were just the most beautiful couple, and they'd held hands right up to the very end, and being with them and hearing about Smoky was quite an extraordinary experience. Well, in this new play at QPAC, we're going to recreate that experience. We're going to invite people into Herb's living room. You'll have an audience with Herbert and Smoky. Ian Stenlake is an amazing actor. He plays both roles, and you'll see both sides of the man. Herb will tell you some stories, Smoky will sing a song or two, and you'll certainly laugh. You may even shed a tear, but I promise you will be inspired. It's an emotional and very uplifting story. Herb's was a tough upbringing. It was peppered with tragedy and abuse, but somehow he found the strength to smile and to grow up to be a man with a heart filled with compassion, forgiveness, and love for his fellow man. It's a really heartwarming story. It's a really inspiring story, and I know you're going to enjoy it. Well, I really urge people to come along to the Cremorne Theatre at QPAC and see an audience with Smoky and Herb. Ian Stenlake is an extraordinary entertainer, a great actor, and through Ian's genius, you will actually get to meet my dear old buddy Herb and the legend he created, the great Smoky Dawson.